Hey, everybody. Welcome to the first lesson in Module 6. This entire module is all about coordinate planes and graphing. So we're going to start simple with number lines. Let's take a look at our learning target for today. I can construct a coordinate system on a line. And before we get started on doing a lot with number lines, I want to talk with you guys a little bit about what makes a number line a number line, even though it may seem really obvious. So some things that I know about number lines that you guys should know moving forward is that, first off, people seem to think that number lines always increase from left to right. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. And while this is okay, it's really important to know that number lines can go in any direction. They can go up to the side. They can go from right to left. 0, 1, 2, 3. They can go up and down. They can go down and up. So just keep that in mind. The other thing to keep in mind with number lines is that you can count by any number you want. If you want to count by twos, you can. You can go 2, 4, 6, 8. If you want to count by fractions, you can. You can go 1/2, 2/2, 3/2, 4/2. You can count by any number you like, but that takes us to our third point. And that's that no matter how you separate it out, your number line ticks must be evenly spaced. Very, very important. What I mean by that is if you draw a number line and your spaces are like this, there's no consistency. So when you draw a number line, make sure that they are perfectly evenly spaced so that the numbers are the same throughout the entire thing. So as you are following along, please make sure that you have pencil and paper to take notes on this, and you'll also be answering some questions on Edpuzzle. If you do have your problem set, the problems that we're doing today are in the problem set. The last piece of vocabulary that I want to go over today is origin. Or an origin is where something starts. In this case, our origin is always going to be at 0. That's very important to remember. So when I use the word origin, I'm talking about where 0 is on our number line. Let's take a look at problem 1. Each shape was placed at a point on the number line S. Give the coordinate of each point below. So before I do anything, I need to take a look at my number line and I need to find out what the intervals are. I see whole numbers here, but I also notice more ticks. If I count the spaces between each whole number, I see that there's 1, 2, 3 here. And since this is a properly drawn number line, I also see that there's 3 here, 3 here, and 3 here. So I know that this number line is split up into thirds. So I'm going to label a few just to make a note of that. 1/3, 2/3, 3/3. And this could either be 1 and 1/3, or it could be 4/3. They're both right. So let's take a look at number 1. It says, give the coordinate of the x. So the coordinate is how far away the point is from the origin. So if the origin is 0 and the x is at 3, then the x's coordinate is simply 3. The next one that I'm looking for is the star. Now I already labeled this one, but if I hadn't, I would just say, okay, well, each tick mark is 1/3. So the star is located at coordinate 2/3. Next one is the circle. I can see that I have two choices. The circle is either located at 2 and 1/3, or this is 6/3, 7/3. And lastly, the square is located here. Its coordinate is 4 and 2/3. I also could have said 12/3, 13, 14/3. Let's take a look at problem number 2, and I'm going to ask you guys some questions about this. It says, plot the points on the number lines. Plot A so that its distance from the origin is 2. Now I'm looking at this number line, and I needed to think about the things that I know. This is 3, and I have 3 in between each whole number. So I'm going to go ahead and label this before I do anything else. So I know that this must be point 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So I'm going to find the origin, and I'm going to find 2 away from it. So the origin is here. So 2 away from it is going to be at point 2. And it says to plot that as A. So I'm just going to label it A. And that is problem 1. Looking at the next one, it says plot R so that its distance from the origin is 5 halves. Well, I can see that this mark is 1 half, this mark is blank, and this mark is 3 halves. So I know that this mark must be 2 halves. The other thing that I'm noticing is that these whole numbers generally tend to have bigger marks than fractions. So this is 1 and this is 2, and I can see that here, 4 halves and 5 halves. So that means that point R must be here. And that is it. Let's take a look at one more. Plot L so that its distance from the origin is 20. Plot L so that its distance from the origin is 20. Now, here I have a problem because I don't know where the origin is. There's no 0 here. But what I can do is I can identify the marks each here and find out what the distance is between each mark. So from 50 to 35, I know that it's a distance of 15 because 50 minus 35 is 15. And there are 3 here. So I think that each jump is going to be 5 because this whole jump is a jump of 15. Let's mark this just to double check and see. "45, 40, 35, 30, 25, and 20. So even though I don't have the origin on here, I know that this point 20 is going to be 20 units away from the origin, which is probably somewhere around here if this number line went on forever. So I'm going to label this plot L, and that is it. Now let's see what you can do. I'm going to label all of these as point A, B, C, D, and E. And it says plot a point T so that its distance from the origin is 2/3 more than that of S. Let's reread that again. Plot a point T so that its distance from the origin is 2/3 more than S. Well, before I do anything, I need to find the coordinate of S so that I can find out what is 2/3 more. So if I look at this, I can see that 4 to 4 1/3, that's a jump of 1/3. And I know that if I jump this far, then it's a jump of 1/3. And I want to find 2/3 away from S. So all I would need to do is jump this much 2 times from S to find my point. So if I jump 1/3, 2/3, I would know that I could plot point D, point T right here. So if I plot point T here, I know that it goes at point D. So it goes at the hash mark that is just before 5. Here is what we are going to do now. When you come to school on Monday, I will just give you a paper-based exit ticket to see how well you understand this lesson, but you do not need to come to the lesson with Miss A on Monday. So if you have questions about this or if you are confused at all, that's okay. I will be there to help you. Thanks for tuning in, and I hope you do the same for 6.2. Thank you.